Go on with it, but go on with it. Blessings all for my life, man. My thank God for the journey, the earnings, and just for the plus. Gratitude is a must. Blessings fall by my right hand.
Okay, so this is somewhat of an interlude. I know that, we're like, oh my God, if you're gonna be doing any videos, shouldn't you be doing Arcane? That will be either next week or in the next 2 weeks. It should be coming soon. This video, I know it's super late. I already dropped a video semi on it, on some pieces of it, but I was scared to drop this video. Now I'm just kind of like, all right, whatever will be. I have my thoughts. I need to drop them before whatever second season they're planning to do comes out. So I'm dropping it. Disclaimers. These are just characters. I personally don't blame the actors at all. Whatever I liked or did not like, I put it in the right place. So any blame that I show in this video, it is towards the directors and the writers because it's their fault. If this clues you into my overall thoughts, then you're clued in. If not, please continue to watch. Hope y'all enjoy. I worked really hard on this and I really tried very hard to say my thoughts in a way that were not brutal, okay? Because I've wanted to see something like this when I was young, and even though I wasn't open to the idea when Mike and Brian were a part of it, I became more open to the idea. So I really did try. Will I be watching season 2? Yes, but only because I really want to see what they're going to do with the Toph character. I have thoughts on that, but that might be another video. Anyways, please do enjoy the rest of this video. Yeah. Hi guys, this is TheSirenSayz. Welcome back to my channel where I speak about movie, TV, and soon-to-come books and everything I like, dislike, and the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything all throughout and in between those frames of media. Fire Lord, my flame burns for thee. Look, disclaimers immediately. If you really like this show, okay? If you thought this was great, if you thought there were no issues, this might not be the video for you. Now, just so you know, I'm not going to diss the actors necessarily. I'm not going to diss the wardrobe, the VFX. That was not my problem. The biggest issues I had were the story. And sometimes with the story and the writing, it doesn't really matter how pretty it looks. I don't hate it though. So don't think I hate it, but I do know this is a very sensitive thing. I'm in the Avatar community. Avatar stuff is sensitive. People don't want to hear many dissenting opinions, and I get that. So I'm just warning you now. I'm not going to act like, this was the best thing I ever saw in my life and then trick y'all into watching the video where you might hear some unpopular opinions, right? I've been waiting for this for years. I was a target demo for the original show. I was also the target demographic for Legend of Korra, and that did not go well, but it is what it is. This was not bad. So what I'll start off with things that I actually did like and how I think that some decisions that they made sense and it did actually enhance the show. So we're going to get into that quickly, and then I'll just go into what I didn't like. And this will probably be the final video on this show for right now. Just in case I know you guys want to know, am I going to be watching season 2? I'll try. But honestly, it'll hurt my heart if they F up with Toph too much. Like I'm gonna be pissed. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Like if they mess up with Toph, I'm gonna end up being pissed, and y'all know what that sounds like on this channel. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm just gonna get into some things that I did like. Number one, I did like the Airbender genocide. I think it was a good idea to start off with that. If you guys don't know, I made a series of videos, about 3, talking about my old thoughts, opinions, and predictions on the show. I think it was a good idea that they did the Airbender genocide, it set the tone for the show, showed you that this show was going to be a little bit more serious. The restrictions that Nickelodeon had on the show, because it was a kids show syndicated on a kids network, are removed, because we're going to show you how 90% of the niggas unalived. Cool. Not cool, but good idea. What I liked about it as well is how it framed Sozin as very intelligent. In the beginning, there was a chase scene. You're like, oh my god, the Earthbenders are gonna find out. But then Sozin is like, it's fine if they find out, I don't care. It'll just be a diversion. We're not going for the Airbenders. It gave very Azula. You can see where her intelligence comes from. Her intelligence comes all the way up to like her great grandfather, where they're able to use diversions to get what they want. What else I did like? I like the fight choreography. Obviously, I've spoken about how I was impressed with their casting, because the main men in the show, apart from Iroh and Zhao and Ozai, those main character men know how to fight. So Sokka's actor Ian Owsley knows how to fight. Gordon Cormier knows how to fight, and Dallas Liu plays Zuko, knows how to fight. They all know how to fight, so I knew I wasn't going to be disappointed there, so I did like that. I thought it was nice. I will have to say the water bending and earth bending were a little laggy for me, and some of the bending, especially when it came to like the Avatar state, kind of looked like Huggy Wuggy MCU edition. Like it felt like the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Huggy Wuggy characters. And what I mean by Huggy Wuggy characters, or Poppy Playtime characters, is they were known for being innovative and having the sort of frightening but spindly, wiggly characters. So yeah, I thought that was a little weird. It kind of bothered me a little bit, but I'll just chalk it up to special effects, VFX, CGI. It's not going to look as clean as you think it's going to look. So I'm going to let that go. But I didn't necessarily, it kind of made certain scenes that were supposed to be pretty cool goofy, is all I'm going to say on that. Quickly, what else did I like? I like that Aang was pointed out to be an airbending prodigy. Debate with their mothers and fathers. He's an airbending prodigy. I don't necessarily love everything that happened in that episode, but the first part was pretty good. I know we heard rumors that they were removing Sokka's sexism arc, and then we got news from somebody who was supposed to be a reliable source. I made a whole video about it. I think it's the last video on my channel where they spoke about how, second to last video on my channel, where they spoke about how they're not removing it, they're just updating it. But no, they removed it. They removed it. And here's how I know they removed it. If anything, they made it so subtle that it's not even there anymore. There were moments where Sokka said something that could have been portrayed as sexist, but then he would keep talking and he would like almost like explaining what he meant by what he said, and it would sort of like dumb it down or remove the sexism from what just happened. You know what I mean? So I did want to speak about that. But let me quick talk about everything I did like. Oh, I could talk about my favorite scene, because I did have one. I wish I said it in the beginning because I don't want it to seem like I didn't enjoy anything. My favorite scene in the entire show is the first time you see my favorite bad V's, Azula, May, and Ty Lee. You see them together and they're interacting. It was very original show coded. So what I mean by that, so Azula is training, she's frustrated. May comes in, dour, kind of hyping Zuko up, which will just kind of lead to their romance later on, but low-key trying to like watch her tone around Azula, but still sounding very deadpan. Loved that. Ty Lee, not as upbeat as I would like, but I guess her being upbeat was a part of the childish nature of the show at this point. And so she just kind of like, Azula, are you okay? Which is still very Ty Lee coded, so I liked that. And Azula just kind of being like, yes, of course I'm the best, but So I liked that because it was as much the original show as this show has gotten. apart from Momo and Appa. Like, let me be honest with you. And like, I enjoyed that scene a lot. I replayed it. I liked it. I liked just seeing them be them in this world. And you guys know that one of the reasons that I wanted this, that I was okay with the idea of a darker Avatar show, is only because I wanted to see people like May shine. Because I don't think May gets enough respect in the Avatar community. And I feel like that's because she was neutered by being in a kid's show. Y'all thought that Boiling Rock Part 2 was like so shocking. But as a kid, that did not shock me. I was just happy that she was helping. I wasn't shocked by how good she was. Why do you think Azula would have her there if she's not capable? So I was hoping that this darkness would allow us to see how good she is. That's really all I wanted this for. Okay, that's not all I wanted it for, but I was hoping that that would be a benefit of the darkness. But it seems like all this darkness has done is suck the life out of characters that the life was needed. Before I jump into that, let me see if there's anything else that I liked. I liked Aang's speech to Appa, saying that he doesn't want this power and this responsibility. I appreciated that. I appreciated a little bit more depth into the air nomad culture, showing that he was a little bit isolated before he found out he was the Avatar, because he was a very powerful airbender. And for some reason, when the airbenders fly off cliffs, they need other airbenders with the tattoos to help them. Like, I'm sorry, if I'm an airbender, I'm a bird. The first thing you need to do is show me how to survive dropping off of far distances. What? I'm just saying. So I like that speech. It was a good moment. I think that it was nice that when he was in cold temperatures, Aang was not cold. It's a nice detail. Aang is not cold even in the anime. I'm just calling it the cartoon, guys. Relax. Because he's an airbender. Airbenders are able to regulate their temperature in any area, so they don't overheat and they don't get cold, because they're able to cool themselves down or heat themselves up with airbending. So that was a very nice detail, and it wasn't over explained with a ton of exposition. There was so much exposition in this show. Even my brother was annoyed by it. I had to keep telling him, well, this is just for people who don't know anything. But it did get a little annoying to me. I feel like they could have made it more concise, or at least make it a little bit better. I know they tried, though, that they tried to add more information, but sometimes it just didn't hit as well as it needed to. One thing that I did love very, very much, I liked the idea of the Comet Festival. This is what I was talking about when I say expand the lore properly, expand things that need to be expanded. I never thought about it, but how did they get rid of all the airbenders? My mom said maybe he attacked them all simultaneously. Perhaps. But considering that he had to ambush them, that would be interesting. But I like the idea of a Comet Festival, because that means that they would all be centralized in one place. He gets the word out that he's going to attack the Earth Kingdom, and then uses that as a cover, comes to them at the festival, takes them all out. Brilliant. I like that. That's a very good way to explain how he was able to get all of them in one night. That makes sense. I also like that Sozin gave the airbenders props, and it wasn't necessarily to give the airbenders props. It was kind of like, I guess, exposition to the audience. A lot of times with Avatar, people underestimate character, lore bits, and scenes because Avatar didn't always tell you, it would show you, and a lot of people didn't see what the show was trying to show. So I do appreciate that Sozin told Gyatso point blank, any other night you might have won this fight, but today we have the Comet, saying that they are very good at fighting. Actually, they may not be offensive, but they could have beat up the Fire Nation. They could have, but they got the Comet and there's no chance, which fine, no problem there. Last thing that I did actually like, I did enjoy Aang's speech to Sokka, how he's never had anybody fight for him, which is not true. I'm low-key sure all the airbenders were low-key fighting for you that night, but I do like the implications of him and Sokka's relationship getting closer. Sokka, not feeling like he's worth anything, which I'm gonna get into that. And Aang sort of telling him, I really like you guys here. I appreciate you, and thank you so much for fighting for me, because nobody's ever fought for me. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. So, that's about it. That's about it. Characters that were not as bad. Meaning, this is a section where I'm going to bring up characters that I didn't mind because they were as faithful as they could have been, and the biggest issues I had with them, if any, were the writing, versus characters that the writing did them so dirty that I didn't even really want to see scenes with them. I was falling asleep at one point. Like that. Whew. So, Zuko, I have no notes. Zuko was Zuko through and through. Even his softer moments were still Zuko. I ain't got no problems. May and Ty Lee, I know they didn't get much screen time, but it is what it is. Yue is Yue. Jet is Jet. I have no notes with Jet. Teo annoyed me, but Teo is an annoying character. So, he was normal. He was the way he was supposed to be. Appa's fine. Momo, MVP. I hated when they try to hurt him. Like, what is wrong with you? Iroh was fine. I know if I don't bring up Iroh, he's gonna be like, what about Iroh? Iroh was fine. But let's get into what I did not like. I didn't like that. I know these are going to be a lot of stuff that, like, okay, you have a point, Siren, and also you're nitpicking. I'm not going to be able to tell you which one is a nitpick and which one is a valid point because they all bothered me equally. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I'm just going to get into it and speak as fast as I can. I didn't like that Aang had the air bison whistle already, because there was kind of a story as to how he got it, and it is pivotal to the Appa's Lost Days arc. Now he gave it up to Boomy, which is like cute, but also I don't like Boomy either, but we're going to get into that. I know that they're young, and a lot of people did not want Katang to be in the live action because they just don't feel like they want to see that. And I understand, because now you're saying that they're actually children, and you can't fanfic them the way you could fanfic teenage-looking cartoons that were actually children. Yes. So in the cartoon, they looked a little bit more teenage, tweeny, so it was easier to actualize them. For you guys, because I wasn't doing that at all. I just came into the Avatar community later on and saw the fan art that y'all was into. But now you can't. So some of y'all were like, ooh, Zutara! Okay, whatever. However, from what I hear, I don't think they're going to remove it, but they're not helping. It looks like Aang has switched places with Katara, and I don't really appreciate it. I don't really like Aang either. Aang is one of my favorite characters in the original show, which is, I guess, an unpopular opinion. The only scene that I liked between them was Aang inspiring Katara to be better as a waterbender. That's about it. Like, for example, when they're in Omashu and he convinces Sokka and Katara they need to stay after seeing the carnage of the bombings by the freedom fighters. Who did that sound like to y'all? Did that not sound like Freaky Friday? In what universe is Aang the one who gives the hope speeches? Excuse me? He literally took Katara's entire character, and anybody who doesn't see that, you weren't paying enough attention. That's what I'll say. It annoyed me, and it hit me in the back of my neck. Every time he would do it, I'm like, this Aang is too sullen. He's too sullen. He's too sullen. He's too sad. And I'm not going to say that it doesn't make sense. I'm not going to say that. It makes sense that he's sullen and he's sad. But I don't think they should have written him that way. I don't think they should have written him that way. I don't think this show being darker means that Aang is more realistic and sad and mopey. I feel like Aang being overly kiddie in the other one, and I'm only saying overly because that's how y'all love to act when it comes to Aang. I feel like it was interesting because it was showing how some kids can act when faced with a war-torn country. That is what happens sometimes. Sometimes they don't look like they've been through it all. Sometimes they cope by masking. I want the Aang that masks. I want that.
But I'm not going to blame Gordon Cormier for that, because I know that they gave him the script and they told him how to act. And for some reason, they tried not to make him as Kitty. He was Kitty for 5 seconds when they were in Omashu, splashing guitar with water and hitting himself on the statue to give us original watchers some fan service. But other than that, he been dead serious. And to talk about dead serious, I don't appreciate the founding fathers. I'm gonna call them the founding fathers at this point, because those aren't the avatars. Those aren't my avatars. The only one that made sense to me was Kyoshi, and it just proves why Kyoshi should never be the first one that Aang talks to. She blamed him for everything, even though we know the person to be blamed is Roku. If you're asking me what I mean, go watch the show again. Go watch the show again. Particularly season 3, the episode where Zuko and Aang are learning the history of Sozin and Avatar Roku. It explains how everything that happened since the genesis of this show, everything that Aang had to put on his back and deal with, is Roku's fault. Okay? And who was probably his avatar guide? Kyoshi. So before we go, because I know y'all love to deride Kyoshi till the wheels fall off. And I get it. She's cool, she's tough, she's powerful. I understand. But obviously, she ain't help it. Her sitting there telling Aang that he's being weak and that he's abandoned people. This Aang didn't abandon nobody. Let's have that conversation really quick, shall we? Let's have that conversation really quickly. This Aang flew away with Appa just in time to miss the genocide, to clear his head. And then when he saw that the storm was getting too rough, he decided to go back. This makes him intrinsically different from our Aang. Our Aang actually ran away. Actually was like, nope, not doing this, bye. I can't. And maybe if he hadn't gotten caught in the storm, he would have flew away, ran away for a day, felt guilty and gone back home to the ruins or whatever. I'm not saying our Aang wouldn't have turned back. He would have. But from what we know, going with the lore that we have, he actually ran away. His stuff was, I need to leave, not I need to think. And you can see it again when Aang, the anime Aang, was faced with the Fisher guy, and the Fisher guy was blaming him and saying, you turned your back on the world. What was Aang's first response? Fight or flight? Flight! He flew off and ran away. This Aang does not run away. Live action Aang, that nigga don't run from nothing. And I know some people are going to like that because they want Aang to be more serious, but there's nothing satisfying about him being serious when people are treating him like he's not serious. It was so annoying watching this show, hearing people call him a coward over and over, telling him that he's not going to be able to help them over and over and over, telling him that he's doing it all by himself over and over and over, how he's weak over and over and over and over. It was annoying because that's not what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing weakness. I'm not seeing incapability. What he was lacking was training. Why did I see him do anything water-like before the last episode? I'm asking for a friend. I'm gonna give them this because I know somebody gonna come with it in the comments. Perhaps it was the budget, so they just wanted to keep him fine. Which is why I'm going to give season 2 a taste. Because I'm hoping that everything that I'm complaining about now is just the beginning type of issue. That's what I'm hoping. I didn't like that. I didn't like the way that Kyoshi was coming at him, but that is how Kyoshi would have been. So I'm not necessarily mad at the character. I just don't like that she was the first one to see Aang, and that shaped him and made him dead inside for the whole entire rest of the show. This is not my Aang. I'm so sorry. Excellent fighting choreography. Cute little boy. I like him, but I don't like this Aang. Sorry, it's just not my Aang. This Aang doesn't impress me. This Aang doesn't make me happy. I do feel for him with the Airbender genocide, and to be honest, that's where it starts and stops. Okay. Boomy, quickly, speedily, in a hurry. In what universe is Boomy not wise no more? What is this? I don't want nobody coming at me with some subtle examples as to how he's still wise. The Boomy I know would not hold a grudge against Aang for 100 years. Especially after he heard the reason why. Aang was frozen in ice. He didn't run away and cryogenically freeze himself on purpose. That's not what happened. So, Boomy acting like this, absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It was gross. I was like, oh, what is this? What? Why is he talking to him like that? You're not helping. You're not helping at all. I was so excited to see Boomy. What were they going to add? How are they going to make it more important? I urge you guys to watch my earlier videos on predictions on what I wanted them to do with this show. I don't know if I mentioned Boomy, but what I did want was I wanted them to build more of a connection between him and Aang. This is not what I meant. It was cringy and it was annoying and I wanted the scenes to end. I literally fell asleep during their fight. Oh, I had to replay it so I didn't miss anything. And then they removed the Cave of Two. I know you're gonna say they didn't remove it. They tried to build a bond between Katara and Sokka. Unnecessary. Unnecessary. So you remove Sokka's sexism, which removes the need for him to have conflict with his sister, and then you just drum up some, he doesn't treat me like a woman. Is that what sexism is supposed to be? That he thinks that she's dumb because she's younger than him, and he's protecting her because he's older? That's not sexism. So I don't want nobody to say that that's sexism. That's not sexism. Katara isn't always right. And if we're talking about who was right most of the time, it's 50-50. Her not being there with Aang was so annoying to me, and they didn't even have to like, will they, won't they in there. But just to establish that like Aang loves her, even if it's just in a friendly way, we need that for their character development. This show systematically removed all of the friendship and relationship character development for Aang and Katara, and then tried to shoehorn it in there at the end with her begging him to come back when the water spirit took him over. Stop playing with me. Stop. Aang goes into the Avatar tape for the first time after seeing Gyatso's bones, and his tantrum is so powerful that she can't stand in the middle. And I was like, interesting. If she can't stand in the middle, how's she gonna calm him down? My mom was looking at me like, come on, it's fine. No, it's not. It's little, but it's a part of the story. And that was something I didn't even know that they could change or mess up. I didn't even know that you could mess their relationship up like that. And for those of you Zutara shippers, they ain't doing nothing for Zutara, so calm it down. Maybe in season 2 they'll start the developments. Who knows? I don't know where they're trying to go anymore. I used to think that they were trying to be really faithful, and so they're just gonna really slow burn it super hard. But at this point, there's nothing to burn. There's no rocks to hit together in any capacity. She doesn't call to him. He calms himself down. So if they go with the Appa arc in season 2, who gonna calm him down? With this logic, you all know what's gonna happen? The Sandbenders are going to be unalived. And mind you, I wouldn't mind seeing that. If we're gonna get a sad sourpuss Aang, I wouldn't mind seeing him murder people. I don't care. Because it's not my Aang, so he can do whatever he wants. It's all for the drama now. It's not for the story, it's for the drama. So I would love to see sourpuss Aang murder niggas. So yeah, they've removed their connection completely. And their connection wasn't even like relationship oriented. It was like survival oriented. They've removed it. And I hate it. I hate it. Unpopular opinion, I think they took away Sokka's Riz. I know Sokka didn't really necessarily have too much Riz, but I felt like he wasn't. How was he cringier in live action than he was in the cartoon? How did they do that? Like whenever he would talk to a girl, it was like, ooh. He was less cringy with Suki though. I will say this. They've made him and Suki more likable. However, I don't like that Suki was thirsting over him so hard. Like that shirtless scene, I was like, girl, and her following him around like May from the fortune teller. Crazy. I don't like this, guys. I'm sorry. At first I was conflicted. I didn't love it, I didn't hate it, but now after everything I saw, I just don't like it. I don't really like how they're trying to give Azula more plot by showing you her insecurities earlier on. Like, we know why she's insecure. You don't need to show us that like Ozai was playing with her and using Zuko to fuel her. Like, I just want to see her being the best, and then later on we can see that she got some issues a little bit. I feel like the Fire Nation people were the only people that did not need to get expanded, so I'm kind of confused where a lot of this expansion came from. The only expansion that I understand and I don't mind was what Iroh told General G or Captain G or whatever. The addition that Ozai sent him with the 41st platoon, I like that. That's a lore build that makes sense to me. I like that a lot. I think that is how you do expansion of the story properly. It gives those people a reason to listen to Zuko and to trust him and to follow him, even when he's throwing a tantrum, even when he's being rude. Because now they know this man might be a little jaded right now, but he put his life on the line for us. So even if he's not acting respectable right now, we know ultimately that he respects us, because he wouldn't just he wouldn't just lead us somewhere just to have us completely die like that. Oh my god. Next. I'm not really going to talk about what happened at the Northern Water Tribe. To me, it wasn't even really sexism. Paku was super nice. And what I've said about the Water Tribe is there's definitely a sexism element, but it's never been fully put out there. They literally just don't want the women to die, so they don't make them fight. And they think that allowing the women to fight is one of the reasons why the Southern Tribe is so desolate. I'm not gonna be mad at them and say that they're wrong for that. They might have a point. Look how long they were able to last. Now, do we want him to update his values because of Katara? Of course we do. But I'm not gonna say that that was like the biggest mark of their sexism. I feel like they could have done a little bit better with that specifically. It didn't hit as hard. Also, them removing his connection to Gran is a mistake in my personal opinion. Him stopping his sexism needs to be a personal decision. Because her just being like, women can fight too, he knows that. That's why your side of the Southerns look like that. Not because they're not capable, but because everybody was fighting. And so when the Fire Nation got an upper hand, there were more casualties because there was more people on the battlefield. Now, I know people don't want to talk about that, but I think that is where that is how it is portrayed a lot of the time. It's not portrayed as sexist. It's portrayed as an extremism thought to protect, which I guess could be an aspect of sexism, misogyny or whatever, misogyny or whatever. Yeah. I feel like if Gran was still there, him changing would make more sense, because in the cartoon, one of the reasons that Gran left is because he was just a little bit too sexist for her. She couldn't think about being with him when he was acting like this, and he realized that it was his behavior that drove away the woman he loved. That's how he was able to change his mindset, go back, get Gran actually. That's how you know Gran did like him, but she couldn't see herself being with him with his extremist views. So he had to change that for her. Why is he changing it now? There's no connection. Nothing matters. And poor Sokka. Poor baby. Do we really need Hakoda to like be disappointed in Sokka? And for this to be like a slight hidden, like almost like he's part of the rainbow, like, oh, he never accepted me for who I really was. Hakoda was also an inventor. Where's that part of the story? I know I have said that I wanted, like in season 3 when Katara was being slightly unreasonable, I wanted them to build up the story a little better so that it makes more sense to back up Katara more. But not like this. Having him say that he's disappointed in Sokka, having Sokka have a conflict about being a warrior before it even gets to the bender non-bender thing. Like, I feel like that was enough. I feel like him feeling irrelevant because he's a non-bender was enough. It was big enough for the story, in my personal opinion. I don't know why they shifted that the way that they did. I don't know why they did that. To make the inventing be like low-key the thing he really wants to do. Like, he's smart, but he's not battle smart. Like, really? Really? It's almost like they took some of the dynamics away from the main characters in order to make it more realistic. And it didn't work, in my personal opinion. In my personal opinion, it didn't work. Cole was horrifically frightening. That was great. But it was a little confusing. They're just like, well, we can't not have Cole, so let's just throw him in there. And also, let's lore dump from the comics and put the Mother of Faces in there. How you would just drop the Mother of Faces? And then just say, what? Okay. But yes, because I've read the comics, I understood what they were saying. That it wasn't the first time I'd heard the Mother of Faces. So, yeah. This is obviously for new people, but they had a lot of if you know, you know stuff put in there. I really don't think I have much more to say. I really don't. But I will say this, okay? Justice for Haru. Haru built up Katara's character. It was the beginning of her not turning her back on people and being the warrior of hope that we all know her to be. The Avatar is hope, so she is an Aang warrior. But she is not necessarily a hope warrior. She's just a warrior. She just likes to fight. At this point, what's the difference between her and Toph? When Toph comes into the picture, I don't expect to see any fighting between the both of them, because this Katara is not motherly at all. At all. There's nothing motherly about her. She's just like the bros. So I guess in order to make continuity and to make this version of the lore make sense, when Toph come in here, I better not see no fighting between the two of them, because you have not distinguished them from each other enough. Obviously, they're still kind of different. She's not completely like Toph, and that's not what I'm saying, but she's not distinguishable from Toph enough for them to like butt heads when they finally come together. So we're just gonna leave that alone, please and thank you. This show is not canon, and so I'm not gonna make 50 million videos on it. I won't. I'm just going to leave it here. I'm gonna be fair. I said what I liked and what I didn't like. That is it. That is it. Favorite scene: Azula, Ty Lee, and May. Least favorite scene: anytime they were berating Aang, and anytime Aang was like, I have to do this, I can't do this. Lastly, why wasn't he waterbending ever? Why? And why did they call Katara a master when we ain't see all that? Somehow you made this 8-episode thing go almost as quickly as the movie that shall not be named. We skipped around so much that there was no time for actual big training arcs. The only person whose prowess made sense was Azula and Zuko. Like, they would just do stuff and it's like, okay, fine. Because we know that whenever they're not going after the Avatar, they're training. Because that's how their characters are. Their characters don't take breaks. Their characters are either training or in espionage. There's no divination. So, seeing Katara and Aang, seeing all these standing around looking at the pretty shots, $1 shots, standing around talking, Sokka being corny, Katara worrying about whatever she worrying about. One thing I didn't mind about Katara, because not to seem like I don't like her, I didn't mind that they focused more on her PTSD with the mom being a thing. I don't mind that. But that's just not Katara, not the PTSD part, but everything else. That's just not, she didn't speak about her mom enough for me either. I know a lot of people don't like that, but it's like, that was how they showed that she had PTSD in the cartoon without showing the flashbacks. So if you weren't going to do that, then how did you take that away low-key? I know some people aren't going to like this video, and it's fine. I was so disappointed watching this show because I realized that I had very unpopular opinions. Some of you will agree with me, some of you will not. It's fine. This is my first and last. If I watch season 2, I'm not going to talk about it unless it's really, really good. as I come back and say they proved me wrong. All the nonsense I just saw was building up for a purpose to lead right here. If it's bad, I'm just not gonna say nothing. I'm sorry, I can't. Because I did tell myself and y'all that it's not canon, so there's no reason to complain about it. That's the good thing about Brian and Mike not being here. It's not canon, so as upset as we can get, we don't have to get that upset anymore. It is what it is. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. So sorry this video is so long, but you know, I had to get most of my thoughts out. Tell me your thoughts down below. I'm sure there will be legion. And goodbye. Susul.